This video is very important. We will go over the protocols and procedures of how to complete a rare plant monitoring assignment, from initial signups to the survey day to submitting your completed field forms. There will be a quiz on this material, so it is important that you understand. Please feel free to contact the Conservation Department with any questions you have. Each state has a different field form and slightly different protocols, and this video is the general protocols. We will go over your state's specifics at the in-person training session in February and March, including a state-specific field form review. As mentioned in a previous video, we work closely with each state's natural heritage program to receive data on rare plant occurrences and share our findings from our own PCV fieldwork. We could not run our program without the help and support of natural heritage programs, so we want to respect their data and support what they do. In the winter, the Conservation Department staff and task force members of the New England Plant Conservation Program meet to look at what was accomplished in the previous year, and then make decisions on what actions to take in the next upcoming year. The conservation staff work with heritage programs to set priorities and policies on the actions we want to take and the species we want to survey. Once we have narrowed down a list of rare species occurrences to monitor, we send those lists to our task force members and PCVs to sign up and take on surveys and seed collections for the upcoming season. After getting landowner permission and sending out survey assignments to both task force members and PCVs, completed survey field forms and reports are then returned back to us so we can then use that data to determine the next conservation actions we want to take for the rare plants. This data is so important to us to keep our program running and make sound conservation decisions. We also provide the field forms and reports back to Natural Heritage so they can update their records. Natural Heritage then uses the data we provide to track rare plant occurrences for their state, including state rare species. We provide a great service to Natural Heritage because we are able to utilize trained volunteers to complete a lot of work their staff does not have time to complete. The New England Plant Conservation Program focuses mainly on regionally rare species. However, we help out Natural Heritage by also monitoring state rare species that our program may not necessarily be concerned about, but at the state level the Heritage Program is. Here is the figure again to demonstrate that our program runs in a cyclic fashion, and the work our volunteers do affects the decisions we make for the upcoming season. Let's do a quick review of this cycle. In the late winter, we have volunteers sign up for surveys that they are interested in and are able to do. At the training session in February and March, we will go over how exactly to determine which surveys to sign up for. Survey information is not given to volunteers just yet, because next, Native Plant Trust staff and interns work from April to early fall on getting permits and permissions from landowners to enter their property to complete their surveys. Once permission is secured, we email volunteers a notification that their survey has received permission and their survey assignment materials are now available to them. Volunteers are expected to coordinate with others on the assignment to determine a date to survey and then to complete the survey. Once a survey is completed, we ask volunteers to submit their field forms and reports to us. Field forms and reports should be submitted as soon as they are complete to ensure accuracy of the data. At the very latest, we ask volunteers to submit field forms and reports by mid-November. Native Plant Trust staff then works in the winter to process all those field forms and data to then determine the next set of surveys for the upcoming field season. We will go over details of each step in a little more depth. Step 1. Sign up for surveys. Each year, we set a due date for survey signups in early April. Keep an eye out for email reminders of this date. We need to set a due date because we need to get going on permits and landowner permissions by April, or else we may miss out on monitoring early blooming species. There will be a link to a Google spreadsheet to sign up. Please do not email signups to conservation staff. This Google spreadsheet is designed for volunteers to sign up on their own and in real time. At the training session in February and March, we will go over each of the species up for survey this season and review the sign-up list to help clarify this process. At the in-person training session in February and March, paper copies of our database export version of signups will be available, and these versions will also be posted on the conservation website as well. Survey signups are first come, first serve, so please be ready at the training session with your schedule so you can have an idea of what surveys you would like to sign up for. Also, to note that some surveys we may not get permission for. Even if you signed up for them, there is still a chance that they may not happen. Again, at the February and March training session, we will help you to learn how to pick ones out that are most likely to get permission, and which ones might be more of a gamble. Once our initial round of signups is complete, we send out a second round of orphaned surveys for volunteers to sign up for. Step 2. Download and review assignment materials. We utilize a secure website for volunteers to receive assignment data, upload completed field forms, and also offer resources and links for botanical and programmatic information. Our conservation website is currently conservation.newfs.org. Once conservation staff and interns have secured landowner permission, we will notify you via email that there is a new assignment in your folder on the conservation website. You will receive a login and password for the conservation website to securely access your assignment information. If your assignment includes other volunteers, they will be CC'd in that email as well. You will receive some, if not all, of the following materials: an assignment sheet, previous field forms and maps, an EOR, and a blank map. Blank field forms are available on the conservation website. In your folder on the conservation website, you will find a zipped file containing PDFs, Word documents, and JPEG files for your assignment. To help you better understand which file is which, we follow a file naming convention. File labels are labeled in this method: state underscore first three letters of the genus, followed by the first three letters of the species, underscore EO number, underscore item year. The example we use for this video is a made-up species, fake plastic aster, Pseudoaster plastictroides. I hope you get the botany pun. Note that not all assignments will have all of these files, because not all of the occurrence of rare plants have complete data. This is one of the reasons why it is so important that our volunteers fill out field forms, provide photographs and maps back to us, so we can have better information on the species, and also so the next volunteer surveyors have more complete information to work from to complete their own surveys. Once you receive your survey materials, you have a little bit of homework to do. Each volunteer on an assignment should take time before the field visit to review the forms and materials we send you in your assignment. Research the rare plant in your assignment ahead of time so you know how to identify it and spot it in the field. Also, make sure you know what time of the year to visit the species. Do your best to determine when it is in bloom, and if asked to collect seed, when it is most likely in seed. Provided field forms have dates of when the previous surveys were conducted and are good starting points to when you should plan to survey. We recommend using GoBotany, but there are lots of other resources to learn about your assignment species as well. Take time to read through the field forms and study the maps to get a good idea of the locations of the plants. Also, take time to figure out where you should park, how you will access the site, how you will search for the plants, and an estimation of how long that might take you. Information on previous field forms provide clues as to how the previous surveyors found the plants and how long it took them, but be sure to plan for how long it will take you. Make sure that if you are with a group of other volunteers on a survey assignment, you take the time to contact and coordinate with them a date, time, location to meet, if you have to carpool, that works for most people. Sometimes a volunteer might have to back out of a survey assignment because what works best for the majority of the group may not work for them. That is okay. Know that you need to go when the plants are at their best for surveying, and these dates are flexible for some species and not so much for others. It is also a good idea to determine ahead of time who in your group will be submitting the field form. Remember, we only need one field form from a survey with a group of volunteers, and make sure the volunteers submitting the field forms get all of the notes and data from everyone in the group. You will hear in this video and see on your field form some terms and acronyms that are not intuitive to their meaning. Here are some definitions to help you better grasp the lingo of rare plant monitoring. An EO is an element occurrence, a single population of a rare plant. We tend to define rare plant populations on the landscape as an occurrence because the term population has multiple definitions depending on the context in plant biology, ecology, and restoration. An EOR is an element occurrence record. This is the documentation on the population, generally in the form of a computer printout created by the State Natural Heritage Program database. Most survey assignments should have an EOR available for you to review. An EO number is a 3-digit number assigned by the Natural Heritage Program that is unique to one EO. This is used as an identifier number of each occurrence of a species, and there could be up to 25 numbers of EOs for one species, or hundreds depending on the species. Oftentimes, when you have a question on an assignment, it is very helpful for you to tell us the species and the EO number so we can look it up quickly. On your field form, you will see two different ways to record the number of plants you find at an occurrence. The first one is a rammet. This is a vegetatively produced unit of a population. For example, a stem. Oftentimes, your first count of plants will be of rammets, how many stems you see of that species at a site. Both of the drawings below show 3 rammets, or 3 above-ground stems. You will also see the term genet, which is a unit of a population arising from seed, not vegetatively from another individual, genetically distinct from other plants in the population. This means the whole plant, the entire genetic individual. Some species send out underground runner stems that produce multiple rammets, but are really one genetic individual. It is helpful to get a sense of your species biology. Does it produce underground stems, grow in a clump, annual or perennial? Before going out on your survey to get a better idea of how to count the plants you find. Here is another simple drawing of rammets and genets. Can you tell how many rammets there are and how many genets there are? Here is an example of one of the survey assignment materials we will send you. This is the assignment sheet. Note that the assignment sheet is full of a lot of useful information. In the upper left-hand corner, you will find the species, scientific, and common name, the EO number, and locational information such as the county, town, and site name. In the upper right-hand corner of the assignment sheet, you will find, depending on if we have phenology data on that species or not, the flowering, fruiting, and recognizable vegetation date ranges. This can help give you a rough estimate on when to survey if previous field forms do not. In the center, you will see your name and anyone else who has signed up for that survey with you. Above the surveyor names are the proposed actions. These are very important to review and understand, as they are what you need to do, including messaging landowners or managers ahead of time before you survey, or if we need you to do a seed collection, which may alter the time of year you need to go out. At the bottom of the assignment sheet is the history. This is the record of what was found, how many, and when the previous survey or seed collections occurred. This is another important section of the assignment sheet to review because it provides information about the rare plant occurrences that could affect your survey. Also, the other species at the site section in the center right refer to the other rare species that may be located at the site. Please take time to carefully review the assignment sheet. At the training sessions in February and March, we will show you an example of an EOR, Element Occurrence Record. Some of them are very easy to read, others not so much because they are older scans of computer printouts from the 1980s. Important information to note on the EOR is the EO number, species, scientific, and common names at the top of the document. Sometimes names and EO numbers change because either of new taxonomical changes or because records of EOs are merged due to proximity. We do our best to send you the correct EOR, and if something looks confusing, please feel free to contact the Conservation Department with questions. Other important information to note on an EOR are directions to the plants. Sometimes written directions are extremely helpful, sometimes they are not. Continuing down the EOR, you should also note when the species was first and last observed. Sometimes the last observed on an EOR is older than what we have on our assignment sheet, and the assignment sheet should be more up to date than some of the EORs for this. Another important thing to note is ecotype and general description. This information can tell you what kind of ecosystem the plants are in and associated species that can better help to guide you to where the plants are located. Here is an example of a past field form. This is another document that you should review carefully. You will notice at the top all the important information is listed there. Species, scientific, and common names, EO number, site name, town, survey date, and surveyors. Remember that each state's field form will be organized slightly differently, but should contain similar, if not the same, type of data. One pet peeve is when people write, "See previous field forms for directions." We may not have that specific field form available. so take the extra 2 minutes to fill out the directions on your field forms. You may find that some field forms are particularly sparse, so please try not to do that to other volunteers and to our data records. Please fill out field forms completely. The other important information listed in field forms is the count data. How many ramets or genets did they find on that survey? What was the phenology? Were the plants in flower, fruit, or vegetative only? How was the vigor of the population? Poor or excellent? This is important information to note before you go out on your survey, and important information to compare in your observations and field forms. Other important information on field forms to note is GPS coordinates, ecological data such as slope, aspect, light, and moisture, and associated species, which can give you clues on where to search at a site for the rare plant. It is so important for you as a surveyor to fill out field forms as completely and as detailed as you can, because the next time we send volunteers out to survey that particular EO, they will appreciate the detail to help them on their survey.